everybody, it's Calxiyn and Hunter here.
One day I'm going to turn on your phone and it's going to fall on the ground and we're going to be like, well, we get to view the ceiling.
You guys know the drill by now. I hope so. Anyway, basically, my computer's dead. We're, like, making a stand out of, like, 5 different books.
7.
A fluffy Disney princess lamp in my iPhone.
Pixar lamp. So,
you guys should go watch the video where I was like, hey guys, we got a problem. Anyway, today we are going to talk about why everybody is sleeping, and we did this video on my computer, which we no longer have access to, so now we have to redo it. So, I have a list of sort of ideas that we could talk about. Some of them we talked about in the old video, some of them are going to be new ones that we're talking about now, but I'm going to talk about the new ones first, because then Hunter can go into his Sandman research and all of that. So, first, I'm going to talk about the Headless Horseman, just because people have been bugging us. I don't know how the Headless Horseman fits into not sleeping, or people falling asleep now. Like, obviously, like, the Headless Horseman myth is basically, like, you know, there's, I don't want to say a whistle. What am I trying to say? Like, he blows a horn
I know very little
like,
about
Huntsman or something to get the fuck out of there. So I guess it could still be there, and, like, the Headless Horseman is in Sleepy Hollow, and everyone's falling asleep.
And so, they're Sleepy Hollow?
Maybe.
I thought Sleepy Hollow is, like, an actual place in New York, though.
I don't, maybe?
Yes, I believe it is. Anyways,
but anyway, the point was, a lot of you guys wanted us to talk about this, and, like, it was good last week, but we didn't get to it. We talked about our gesture idea instead, which could still happen, based off of some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today. But I feel like I just wanted to bring it up so y'all would stop bugging me. Because, yeah, like, Brunswick had this town where in the Sleepy, like, the Sleepy Hollow Headless Horseman story. I mean, it could still warn them. Like, you could still have a Grimm or something or another to warn them to get out of there, because there is a Grimm that would put us to sleep. And so it could be two different ideas. That there is the Headless Horseman figure running around. Like, and even in the old picture, there's this photo of a huntsman, right, with the rifle and everything, like in the picture of the family from the Brunswick farms. Like, he could be the Headless Horseman, depending on what happens to him, warning people.
The yeehaw cowboy.
Yeah, the yeehaw guy. And so,
also, can I just mention how, for some reason, now I just find cowboys hilarious? Because of yeehaw and memes.
Anyway.
The internet has ruined my sense of humor, and it was
so, I just wanted to mention it, because maybe it's two separate ideas. Like, there's a Headless Horseman warning people to get out of the house because of the Grimm that's gonna put you to sleep. And maybe it's not even, like, maybe it's, like, a person. Like, what if Crow just found a corpse and it was, like, they had fallen asleep but they were also decapitated? Or something like that. You understand what I'm saying? So Headless Horseman is, like, an idea, but that's not really what we're talking about here. Somebody mentioned that in Grimm Eclipse there are biohazardous Grimm that radiate some sort of poison or sludge or something. And so what if that Grimm in the basement is actually, like, one of Merlot's science projects, and that's why everybody's sick? Because, you know, Blake talked about water contamination, and that could be why they're sleeping. A couple of people have mentioned that that RWBY is having symptoms now of carbon monoxide poisoning. Like, Yang is tired, Weiss is tired, everyone's tired. So what if it's actually a Grimm that is biohazardous in some capacity?
That would be so fucking lame if it was
just
like,
carbon
here's
monoxide.
the new Grimm, what's its special power? It emits carbon dioxide. Oh.
Monoxide.
Oh, monoxide. Okay.
Yeah, carbon monoxide poisoning.
Because I was about to say carbon dioxide is also something that humans release, and it's not terribly interesting when we do it either.
Anyway, but I think the idea was more like a biohazardous Grimm, and I was like, that's a good idea. Like, sure. I'm gonna mention that in our video. So, my other idea was a child with a semblance. And so basically my idea is that little girl that you see in the photo, or another one of the kids, had a semblance that put everyone to sleep. She didn't know how to wake everyone up after, and then they all died. And so she's still there, and that's why she's in the wine cellar. She's just basically gone crazy and, like, trapped herself in the house. And that's why,
in the wine
cellar?
Yeah,
and that's why there's still food on the shelves, and, like, the food is sort of, I don't want to say misplaced, but, like, you have it separated from each other because she's still been eating this whole time, and, like, all of that stuff. And so she put her family to sleep with her semblance.
She doesn't need to eat too much.
She didn't know how to wake everyone up, and so now she's hiding in the house, and it's going to be a creepy little girl thing, not so much a Grimm. But the negativity would attract Grimm to the area, maybe, somehow. Something like that. And that's why the house would be well kept, because no Grimm would be going near it if it's just this one girl with negativity instead of a whole family that had negativity. You understand what I mean? Because RWBY was like, this place looks untouched. Well, maybe it was, right? And, like, if Grimm aren't attacking things if there are no people in them. That's basically what I'm trying to say. And so maybe that's who's rattling on the chains and all that. It's this little girl that's still running around the house, and we're like, who the fuck are these people that just walked into my house right now? Right? So I like that idea of a child with the sleep semblance, a semblance that you don't know how to control. And like that kind of ties back into RWBY not knowing how to control her silver eyes, which could be deadly or something, like hurt people, hurt Grimm,
Something
like we don't
rather.
really know. So I like the idea of a child with a semblance. But the other video that is lost on my computer, Hunter and I talked about Sandman, Maleficent, and the old hag, as she is dubbed. So I guess to talk about Maleficent, I wouldn't want a Maleficent Grimm. I would want a Maleficent character because Maleficent has so much character. Like in the Disney movies, right? Because Disney did a lot of like old hags, if you think about it.
When you think about it, yeah.
Like for Snow White, like it was, you know, like this old hag that manipulated Snow White. But for a witch, like Maleficent, they wanted her to be slender and elegant and almost like queen-like. They wanted to sort of break the mold of traditional, how we see, like, traditional old ladies in fairy tales, right? And so I would want her to be a character, not a Grimm, because I feel like that's really...
But the Grimm would work in some sense because, like, the horns.
Yeah,
are very
Maleficent
much so
has
with,
those twisty horns, right?
And for a
all
second,
that stuff.
until I realized it was the Sphinx, I thought the horned Grimm in the poster would have been something that looked like Maleficent.
I mean, it could still be some sort of horned Grimm that is...
So maybe that's a possibility.
And Maleficent does turn into a dragon, right? So
and
it could
Maleficent,
be somewhat of a human...
And Maleficent also puts people to sleep.
Obviously.
So,
yeah.
Sleeping Beauty.
If you think about it, though, all of the fairy tales in RWBY are people, and the Grimm are more fairy tale monsters. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so I feel like we have to go more into the monster side. The other idea I had was the old hag, because as I was looking for fairy tale... The night hag?
Night hag.
Like, as I was looking for fairy tale characters that put people to sleep, she popped up, and I'm like, well, you know who's a night hag? Maria. Like, Maria's an old woman, right? And the idea is this old lady, like, sits on you and makes you suffocate and die, like, while you're asleep,
that's what
sort of.
sleep paralysis is, because when you have sleep paralysis, you can't move, and sometimes you'll hallucinate things when you're sleeping, and so that's the
And I found on the wiki page for her, and then some, like, cultures, because everybody has a night hag, apparently. Like,
goddamn.
It seems like it's a story that got around.
I mean,
like,
but also...
everybody experiences sleep paralysis. It's a way to sort of explain that. So, I think it was the Fiji version, but one of the versions had it so... this night hag can also communicate with demons, and that's why they are weighing on you. They're supposed to, like, be some sort of back and forth communication while you're in sleep paralysis, right? And so I thought that was interesting, because Arnold had that theory that Maria can talk to the dead, right? And so if Maria's the night hag, not only is she putting people to sleep, she's putting people to sleep so they can communicate to the dead, and then they never wake up, and, like, all of that sort of stuff. And, like, obviously Yang would talk to Summer, like, Weiss would talk to her grandpa, because she wants to follow in her grandfather's footsteps with the Schnee Dust Company. RWBY would also talk to her mother. When I say her mother, I'm talking about Summer, by the way. Raven is very much alive. I don't know who Blake would talk to. She just kind of doesn't have anybody.
Mom? Sienna?
Hey, girl, hey! Like,
hey, girl, don't trust that Adam bitch.
Yeah.
God knows I shouldn't have.
So there's one more thing that Hunter wants to bring up, and that is the Sandman, which I thought was kind of funny, because in Miraculous Ladybug, they had, like, a sand boy, and it was like sand boy, like, will give you nightmares, and everybody's nightmares came, like, to life in Paris, and it was great. But.
So, yeah, it was great. So Sandman is another sort of, I had looked up Sandman, because I'm like, I don't know, I think that's a character that makes people fall asleep, but then again, I never actually...
Sandman in The Guardians, The Rise of the Guardians, or whatever?
I never watched that movie.
Neither did I.
Well, then why did you bring it up? Anyway.
Because they're all characters, like, it's Jack Frost and the Easter Bunny, and, like, all that. Anyway.
So I think it worked because Sandman was originally a Swedish character, so Sandman would come up in the night and sprinkle, like, sand in your eyes, and that's why you have eye crusts. Don't you love mythology? It's like, we didn't know shit about shit, so it was like, yeah, guy comes in, sand on your eyes. Yeah. That was sweet. When it was brought over to Germany, it was in a short story in 1816 called Der Sandman. It was showed to be more sinister, and Sandman would make you fall asleep, and if children did not fall asleep, he'd make them fall asleep and pluck their eyeballs out, and then take them to his mess.
Have the sunken eyes.
Has sunken eyes, like they have their eyes taken out.
So I feel like this works much better for a Grimm. Because what if you had a Grimm that, like, collected trophies and, like, collected the eyes?
Yeah, like it had a band, or like it has many arms, it also has many eyes. That'd be creepy as shit.
I like
it. It also says that the Sandman then takes the moons to his nest. It takes the eyeballs that he steals to his nest on the moon where he feeds his children. I don't think that's gonna happen.
The Grimm
But
come from
hey, I really look, so if there's a multi-eyed, eyeball-stealing, multi-armed Grimm, then it's the Sandman. And we made another correct.
So here's my ranking of this.
Yeah.
I like the Sandman the best in terms of a Grimm.
Yes.
But I think in terms of a person, I would really like the idea of it just being a child that made everyone go to sleep. And
that
also,
would be really fucked up.
That also connects to Crow's bad luck, because it's like, oh, like, you know, I've had bad luck that has affected, like, everyone I've ever loved, kid. So, like, we better just put you out of your misery. And everybody's like, Crow, excuse me? Like, what? You're gonna murder this child? Right? But if you have an uncontrollable semblance that could really kill people, like Crow or, like, this little girl, I just really like that idea. In terms of most likely, I think that Headless Horseman and Sandman could work in tandem. Like, you have the Headless Grimm that's, like, making this sort of, like, howl noise, like, to warn people, and then you have the Grimm that comes in and makes everyone fall asleep. Or you could have sort of that huntsman that was in the family photo of the Brunswick farm people, for him to be headless, and him to have scrawled some sort of warning, so then he's the Headless Huntsman. Anyway. That's it. So those are our sort of ideas for what's going on at Brunswick Farm, so I hope that you guys enjoyed. I thank you guys for bearing with us with our technology issues. I'm guessing that by the next reaction we'll have a new computer, or I'll have my old computer, so we're dealing with it for now.
Fucking knock on wood.
But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed. We will see you guys.
Now everyone's favorite part, where Hunter tries really hard to turn off the video.